Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 15. Translation. I am completely assured that personalities like you are the only friends for persons who are blazing in the fire of material existence. I therefore ask you how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life. Purport. When saintly persons go from door to door to see those who are too much materially engaged, it is to be understood that they do not go to ask anything for their personal benefit. It is a fact that saintly persons go to materialists just to give real information of the auspicious. Maharaj Prithu was assured of this fact. Therefore, instead of wasting time by asking the Kumaras about the auspicious, he preferred to inquire from them whether he could soon be relieved from the dangerous position of materialistic existence. This was not, however, a question personally for Prithu Maharaj. It was raised to teach the common man that whenever one meets a great saintly person, he should immediately surrender unto him and inquire about relief from the material pains of existence. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Samsara Vishanale Diva Nishi Hiya Jwale Juraite Na Kainu Upaya. We are always suffering from material pangs, and our hearts are burning, but we cannot find any way out of it. The materialistic person can also be called a tapasvi, which means someone who is always suffering from material pains. One can only get rid of all these material pains when he takes shelter of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This is also explained by Narottam Das Thakur, Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Rati Najan Nila Kenetaya. Narottam Das Thakur regretted that he did not pursue his attraction for the transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra. The conclusion is that all persons in this material world are suffering from material pains, and if one wants to get rid of them, he must associate with saintly persons, pure devotees of the Lord, and chant the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the only auspicious way for materialistic persons. Tadaham Krita Vishrambaha Suhrido Vastapasvinam Sampriche Bhava Etasmin Kshema Kenanjasa Bhavet. I am completely assured that personalities like you are the only friends for persons who are blazing in the fire of material existence. I therefore ask you how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life. I cannot have it too close, at least 10 centimeters, so maybe you can put the volume up if you like.
This.
No, that's, I will see. Actually, I need some cushions also. No double, like, no double, no, okay, thank you. So Prithu Maharaj is glorifying Kumaras and he is describing the benefit of having their association. he's describing their value, and he's saying who will benefit from their association, and he says the persons who are blazing in the fire of material existence. So this is one of the very basic questions that is repeated throughout Bhagavatam. And this question is how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life. So see if there was something. This shamer wish to inquire. Oh, Anjasa. Here is this word Anjasa, which means without delay, and Srila Prabhupada translated it as very soon. So here, Prithu Maharaj, he's pointing out the sense of urgency. The sense of urgency. So, like one illusion that people have is that they will live the length of life that is average for people. Like people on average live 70 years or 80 years. But how do you know, how do anyone knows that he will live 70 years or 80 years? Maharaj Parikshit, he knew that he has 7 days to live, but we don't know if we have 7 next minutes to live. So therefore, sense of urgency, anjasa, is appropriate. It's very appropriate. Hurry up. Yesterday one devotee told me that he is getting better and better in not wasting time. So that's actually one of the symptoms of ecstatic love described in the Nectar of Devotion, is that devotee doesn't like to waste time. So one has to lose taste for wasting time, and that's very nice. That means every minute of the day is used for something valuable, for something useful, for some kind of devotional service. And we can say that always, in any moment of the day, a person is doing one of the two activities. It's either sense gratification or devotional service. So you can sometimes during the day stop and say, okay, what am I doing now? Is it devotional service? You can ask yourself. And if it's devotional service, then it's not a waste of time. And if it's sense gratification, then it's a waste of time. So, yeah, and the purport Srila Prabhupada says that these saintly personalities, they go from door to door not because of their own benefit. So actually they go and beg. Begging is used by them just to get some basic necessities of life, a little bit of food, like a cup of milk or piece of bread or chapati or something little. But these kind of personalities, they can live on little food. Mitabuk is one of the 26 qualities of Vaishnava. It says that he eats little. So they go and they beg, and begging is also meant for developing humility. When you approach others to give you something, you have to be very humble, and you cannot come very arrogant, top down, like try to tell them in a very proud way, or very arrogant way, or very, I would say, forceful way. So one has to be humble and approach people and ask them, and depend on the Lord if they will agree to give or not, something to eat, or a donation, or whatever. Nowadays, begging is business. People have like some I don't know, criminals. They send out people to beg and ask them to collect money and give them money. And sometimes beggars approach us and ask for money. But we always have shalom to give instead of money, because we don't know how they will use that money and to whom this money will go. So saintly personalities would go from door to door, from village to village, and preach about Krishna consciousness and get their basic necessities covered. And because they are simple, they don't need much. They're happy with little, but they're also happy giving Krishna, or giving Krishna consciousness to people. This is their main happiness. They don't aspire to have some possessions. They have very little, and they want to benefit people. So traveling from place to place, giving people Krishna consciousness and support also, and guidance. So that's what saintly personalities were doing throughout the history, in all traditions and in all religions. And sometimes they had a thankless job of telling people about things that they need to change. And this is not popular if you speak about things that people need to change, or if somebody is doing something wrong. Or like when you visit people at homes, then they maybe don't know about how to do things or what to do. So it is our duty to teach them if the situation is, I would say, appropriate, if we can, if they are teachable, or if the situation is such that we can tell them, look, this is how we do this and this is how we do that, or teach them about the standards. And try to tell them, even if we see they're doing something wrong in their dealings, maybe with our family or something. So it is the duty of a devotee to teach people what is to be done and what is not to be done. And sometimes it's an unpleasant task, because people object, people protest. Why are you telling me this? Why should I follow this? Once I was visiting one devotee, he's a grihasta. He has two boys and a wife. And he was kind of torturing his kids. And he was a little bit like enjoying this, and they were crying. And then I asked him, would you like to be treated like this? And he said, well, we are joking, we are playing, but they are crying. They are crying. And he didn't actually accept it. And since then, I've never visited him again. So then I worked with one leader who wanted people to listen to him. But just to follow obediently. And but he himself didn't listen to his authorities. So I tried to point out the inconsistency. Like, okay, you want to treat people in a certain way, but you don't like to be treated like this. So where is the consistency? He didn't say anything to this. didn't even try to defend himself because it's wrong. It's completely wrong. And the other day I got 3 pages from one book about counseling. One devotee who is a coach sent me this, and this text explains that people who are counselors, mentors, coaches, therapists, these people usually have very good intentions to help people, and usually they're soft-hearted. And when the time comes that they have to confront people with what they need to change, then sometimes they fail. And it's difficult for them to do. And sometimes they back off. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to, how do you say, raise the mud from the bottom of the lake? How do you say, raise the mud? Mud, go up. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to, disturb people. But sometimes, in order to help people, we have to disturb them. And this is the unpleasant task. Srila Prabhupada, he was sometimes very forceful. And I heard at the end of life, he was apologizing. He said, I had a Bhagavatam in one hand and the stick in another hand, or a danda or something. We know, I think it's from the life of maybe Vamshidas Babaji or Jagradadas Babaji. In the Vedas I found this passage about sharp words of a sadhu. Sharp words of a sadhu. So, the word sadhu means to cut. And it refers to cutting the material attachment. So the words of the sadhu, they can actually cut material attachment of conditioned souls if they are open to this. If they understand that this is for their own benefit. So in this text it is described that the conditioned soul is insulted by his family members, but he still continues to serve them. Day by day he is insulted. He continues to work for them hard, to earn money, to give them money. They insult him. They hate him because he doesn't bring as much money as they want. But when he hears the sharp words of a sadhu, he runs away and never comes back. And he feels offended when his Guru Maharaj points out his anarthas and tells him that he needs to change something. So that's strange. On one hand you are tolerating, on another hand you don't understand that these words are for your own recovery or reformation. So if you develop a taste for sharp words of a sadhu, then we have a chance to get purified. Nobody likes that his mistakes are pointed out. Once, one ISKCON leader, he was leaving his service in one place, going to another place. He said, everybody was glorifying him. Everybody was speaking about good things that he has done. But there was mistakes also that he has done. But when somebody is departing, you don't speak about mistakes. So it was appropriate to not mention these things. And then he said, thank you for saying the good things and not saying the bad things. Okay, for that occasion it may be appropriate, but actually I don't think this is the right attitude, that somebody just wants to hear good things that one has done. But this is a general tendency. This is a general tendency that people like to be praised and they will like to be criticized. Everybody is like this, every conditioned soul. But those who want to get purified, who want to advance, they actually want to discover what they should correct. what they should change. And therefore, instead of waiting for people to tell us what we are doing wrong, we can actually ask for it and approach. And sometimes devotees come and tell us, shoot. In other words, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Then I say, okay, I'll tell you what you're doing wrong, but first I want to tell you what you are doing right. Because you are doing so many things right also, and it's like percentage-wise, it's actually a big ratio. It's like 10 to 1. You are doing 10 things good and 1 thing wrong or something. And regarding these things, like also, I work with one leader who taught that his sacred duty is to correct. His main sacred duty is to correct. And I said that I heard that actually correction should be like 20% or maybe 10% of what you're saying, and the other percentage should be encouragement, support, appreciation, and things like that. Because if you only correct people, they get an impression that you hate them. So, it will not bring the desired result that they are getting inspired to change. Even if you don't hate them, even if you love them. But we can correct people only if they trust us, if they trust that we have their best interest at heart. Otherwise, they will not listen to us. Why should I listen to you? You are also imperfect, and you are rude or whatever. So, people will react. Many people will react like this. And we may say they are making excuses. They will always find an excuse not to listen, what they need to change. But our duty is to be able to say things in such a way that people can accept. Do our best to say it in such a way. It's not always soft. Sometimes it's strict, but it should be done with love and compassion and genuine desire for the benefit of the person. And people will feel it. They will feel it. They can feel when behind our words there is care. Otherwise, people just resist, or they don't trust us, or they avoid us, and we are not doing our job. So, this traveling and visiting people is not an easy job. Talking to people. You may say, preacher's life is easy. He just goes and gets the best prasadam, and he gets some facility. But actually, to speak to people and to help them to work on themselves is hard work, and it's a hard job, and very thankless task sometimes, because people will criticize you. And in the Bhagavatam purport, in the first canto, Prabhupada speaks about Yudhishthira Maharaj, and also he was criticized. And also the Gopis criticized Lord Brahma because he created eyelashes, and because when you blink, then in that moment you don't see Krishna. They don't see Krishna, and they criticize. So why did you create this like this? So Srila Prabhupada says that every responsible officer, every person who takes responsibility will be criticized by the very people that he is serving. So welcome to leadership. If you want to be a leader, you will be criticized. So are you ready for that? You think if I become a leader, I will become glorified, I'll get facilities, I get garlands, I get gifts, I get donations. But actually, people will criticize you, they will find fault. That's the reality. And sometimes you have to defend yourself, although maybe you're not guilty. Sometimes you're guilty, you have to admit it. It's a tough job. So, I remember when I first read about Buddhist monks, bodhisattvas, who travel from village to village. When I was young, I liked to read books in English. So in my country, I found one bookshop which has English books. And I found Buddhist scriptures, small penguin, edition, and I was so fascinated with this lifestyle. We were traveling and preaching, and not preaching, they were preaching, traveling, living very simple life, eating little, having no fixed residence. Such a wonderful lifestyle. It's like freedom. And then later, when I came to ISKCON, I saw that, okay, maybe sannyasis live like this, but they also deal with legal things, and they have suitcase, briefcase, and Srila Prabhupada is Parivrajacacharya, but he also dealt with so many other things. So these monks, they don't deal with administration at all, they don't deal with money, they don't. So, and I was taught that spiritual life means you go to the mountain, you go to village. But then when I came to ISKCON, I saw, you have to be in the cities, you have to live in the family, and it's different. But actually, this kind of lifestyle is easier. When you go village to village and you have little possessions. But more difficult is to take responsibility for the mission and take responsibility for Lord's property and for Lord's people and for devotees. And like if you don't get married in ISKCON, you become a Swami or a Vanaprastha, and you don't have your own children, but then you have so many other children. You have more children than if you have your own. If you have your own children, you focus on 2 kids or 3 kids. Or some are more productive, they have 6, 5 kids, but it's rare. But then you have so many people who come to you for help, and you have to be like a parent, and you have to take care of them, support them in every way, even in material ways. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And then gurus accept too many disciples. And sometimes it crashes them completely. But so many disciples. So how can you take care of all of them? So therefore some gurus, they organize the counselor system or mentoring system where senior devotees take care of disciples, because it's impossible to take care of everyone and to write to everyone and to personally give attention to every disciple. It's impossible. So therefore senior disciples should take responsibility. And Srila Prabhupada says in one place, this is the Indian system where the senior students take care of younger students. So in this way you delegate the responsibility of guiding students. So you can't do everything alone. And if one is a traveling preacher and one has to be effective, you cannot do everything alone. You need to train people to do similar job that you are doing, to guide people, to support people. But this is something that is so much needed. Although we have preachers and gurus, but it's so much needed, this kind of service, that people need personal guidance. People need personal guidance. And for personal guidance. So what is happening when somebody is traveling, coming to someone's home and starting to speak, and that he accepts food? So what is happening there, or what is supposed to happen there in this kind of dynamics, in this kind of scenario?
In which kind of scenario?
When the preacher or saintly person or devotee or sadhu is going from door to door visiting people, what's happening there? What do you think? What? Exchange. What kind of exchange? Loving exchange. Okay. And what else?
They want to take shelter.
Yes. Okay.
They want to be protected.
Or maybe they're not sure if they should take shelter of you. Maybe they're not yet sure. So what is the requirement? What?
So maybe they also want to have knowledge or want to develop something. They want to develop some knowledge or some, I don't know.
They want to develop knowledge.
Develop love, and they want to have knowledge about how to develop themselves or...
Yes. From you. They want to know from you. Okay.
It's necessary to come more often in order to The time will show whether it's I want to take shelter or not.
The time will show. But what is the requirement that this relationship works?
Conflicts. Also
Conflict?
conflicts happen.
No, I'm asking, what is the requirement that that relationship, which is supposed to happen, that it works? What is the What is the main ingredient?
They should want to be inquired, they should want to be instructed.
Sincere disciple,
Yeah.
sincere inquiry. What do you say?
Tendency should
Trust. Yes. Trust. So, one thing that this person who is described here has to earn the trust of the people that he wants to guide, that he wants to preach. And that's not easy. That's not easy. And also, as you said, you have to come more often, show interest, genuine interest. Not only show it, but be interested genuinely. So trust is the ingredient that is required for this relationship to work. And then when people trust us, they can listen to us. Otherwise, you can have a title, you can have a position, you can have fame, reputation. Who cares? They may be open a little bit to listen, but unless and until they have this personal experience that they see that you are trustworthy, they can trust you, then they will not be listening very much. They will maybe go to somebody else. So, now Peter Maharaj trusts Kumaras. Automatically he knows them well. And so he's inquiring, he's giving these confidential inquiries, posing these questions. And so when people can inquire confidentially, when they have trust in the preacher or in the speaker, then they can inquire confidentially. And then this Bhuya Maketi Prichati can take place, these confidential discussions. And then the benefit is great when they can have deep discussions. And then we can speak about so many things. Oops. So, if you start to talk about high things, high philosophy, high qualities, what is happening there? To talk to other people about some high philosophy or high standards. So what's happening? What is happening there is that you are actually obliging yourself to exemplify what you are talking about. So bold speaking requires bold acting or exemplary acting. And people sometimes complain that there is inconsistency in what you say and what you do, or how you behave. And that's the big problem. The gap between what you say and what you do. And once I was challenged in Soho, in London, I was giving one afternoon class, and one Mataji was there, Bhaktin, and she was listening, and I was saying, I was kind of like a poem. I was trying to, like a fake poem or something. I was trying to present one point in the form of a poem. And then I said, oh, when that day will come, when in the evening, instead of looking to eat something, I would actually be happy simply by chanting the holy name. And then I said, something like, I should not eat after 5. I mean, like, I said it should be my goal. I said something like that. I didn't say, I must do it, or I'm doing it, or I'm giving a vow to do it. I just said, it would be nice. And then one day, I was working, because office in Soho was in another building, so I was working in the office, and then in the evening there is Maha. In Soho, there is a Maha, and sometimes very few people come, and there is a lot of Maha. And that day, I was so busy from the early morning to the evening. I mean, it was like 8 o'clock, and I practically haven't eaten anything. I was so hungry. And I'm coming to the reception. And this Prabhu, Tripad Prabhu, who is the receptionist, he sometimes, actually I phoned him, we have a local phone, I phoned him and asked him, can you please save some maha for me, because I have not eaten anything whole day, and I have no food here. And he said, no problem. So he made a big plate. And I came to the reception, and this girl was there. And it was 8 o'clock. So, what I said was 5 o'clock, that stop eating. and he covered the plate. It was full. It was halava, the pakoras, all heavy stuff. And he said, he was very happy to give me. And she said, oh, Prabhu, but you said we should not eat after 5. And I was so embarrassed. I think I got red in my face. And then before I started to defend myself or to say I haven't eaten and to have some excuse, then Tripad Prabhu jumped in and he said, just leave him alone, see how he's skinny, and started to say something like this. And then later I met her again and I explained to her what happened, and then she didn't complain, but she challenged me. Because publicly I was saying something, I didn't give a wow, but I was just mentioning this, not eating after 5, publicly, and then my practical action was not in line with that. And I appreciate it very much that she challenged me. She didn't just criticize me in her mind, but she just asked, she said, oh, but you said we should not eat after 5. So this is, for these persons to be trustworthy and that people trust them, they actually, they need to practice what they preach. They practice what they preach, and they need to walk their talk. So it's very important not to preach something that we are not doing, not following. And sometimes you may say things that you want to attain, you want to achieve, like you won't say, we should or I should. You can say like this. So that's different than if you are telling people you should and you are not doing it. So that's inconsistency. So it's not right. So these preachers were expected to be a good example. They were expected to be a good example. And to be trustworthy, we need character and competence. Character and competence. So character means good behavior, care, good qualities, good intentions. And competence means we know and we know how. We know what and know how to apply what we know. We can say these two aspects of competence, that somebody's competent. And when there is both character and competence there, then we are trustworthy and people can trust us. So these are some points about this verse and purport. Thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions?
I was only hearing such a small story from one friend of mine. He said about his he was telling about his wish, and I said, oh, I wish this, I wish that, some egoistic wishes, and he said, you know what I wish? I wish that I get a really big sauce from my spiritual master.
Wow.
I was totally impressed.
Was he real?
He is real, and
he's real.
Really beloved friend of mine, a long time friend of mine.
But did he get it?
And I don't know, because I'm not daily with him in contact, but he said that immediately, I want to have big sauce from my spiritual master one time again.
Sometimes people say this, but they don't really mean it. And when they get it, then they're hurt and they're object to this. So one should be careful when he gets these statements. Sometimes devotees also say to me, "Oh, I was praying for Krishna to, purify all my anarthas, and then I got so many tests."
No, it's very intimate, so that's why I don't want to name him, because it's really
You don't have to
such a
name.
humble person.
Well.
I'm totally shocked. So exciting.
I mean, if you want like a chastisement and you think it will purify you for the spiritual master, I recommend that one starts already looking into himself, and he can see so many things already before he gets to that point. Because to come to that point that Guru chastises you, you have to be very strong, and it's good to work on yourself, like exhibit some self-criticism or self-reflection, self-observation and self-correction, and then come and then see that there is much more. So it's a healing process or therapeutic, and it's not easy. But for those who are sincere, they will actually want to understand. But so this devotees will come to me and say, "Tell me everything, tell me. I trust you. Tell me." Then I say, "Okay, you tell me. What do you think? What do you think you should change?" And then when they say things, it's worse than what I would say, because they're so self-critical. Yes.
I was wondering if it just happens when we get initiation, that it's more strict that we get source, or like if we get a source or like get criticism from spiritual master, or if that can also happen before we get initiation.
What do you think?
It's probably more when we get initiation, so because then it's more, we have more motivation to get initiation. I don't know, maybe your political things, why am I doing this?
I've seen both. I've seen people just before they even can join, they have so many problems. They have so many tests. I have seen both. And then later it's easier for them. But then, after initiation sometimes it's tougher. You get tested more. So it can be both, I think. Okay, yes?
If there is a case that you get praised by somebody and you think, and you feel you might not feel it, what he's saying, and then maybe you also try to praise other people just for exercise because you don't feel very humble. Is it okay like that? Is it then getting the feeling from the other person that they might have the same feeling, or you don't really feel it, but you're trying to practice it in this way? Is it okay to do that?
I think it's okay because when I started trying to encourage people sincerely, then even I was not convinced what I'm saying so much, that you're like this, you're good. But you can always genuinely praise somebody for something they have done right. Catch them doing things right. So it's a genuine praise, and if you recognize some qualities, you can recognize qualities also through their behavior. Yesterday, one devotee was telling me about his vision for the future, how the service can develop like this young devotee. And I was so impressed. It was like a very mature person, and this devotee is very young, a very mature person planning, to do something significant and big in the world, some big service. And it's amazing, so mature. I wanted to transcribe, what I said. And then I expressed appreciation for this. I said, wow, this is so wonderful. Even I feel like myself that I should also think like this. Very big, like thinking big. But it doesn't sound like some, utsaha mai, like a neophyte, passionate enthusiasm which vanishes after some time. No, it actually sounds like very serious, deep plan, and not planning to have family life, not planning to make money, not planning to get fame, but planning to serve people in a certain way and to give them Krishna consciousness in a certain way. Wow, it was so amazing. I was really inspired. So we can look for things that we can genuinely praise, and then we will not feel artificial. Okay? Yes?
I just wanted to ask you, how important is it to say our appreciation, to express our appreciation to another person, or we can just feel it and maybe do something, or and if we should say it, then should we say it to the person directly, or maybe glorify in his absence?
So what would you want that others do to you? Would you like them to just be quiet about what appreciation of you?
If somebody towards me, towards me.
Yeah. What would you want?
It depends. Not. I cannot say yes or no. It depends.
But how do you feel when somebody appreciates your service or your qualities? Feel embarrassed or ecstatic? How do you feel?
No, I feel good, but sometimes I don't want that they say it.
So it's both. But we have to see. I think we have to be guided from Krishna. But I think it's helpful when we show to people that we appreciate. It's encouraging, and we all need encouragement. So I see. Actually, both. I think both one should do. Yes.
I think there's an art to how to express encouragement so it doesn't boost the false ego. So sometimes, because we attach to certain external results, we tend to give people just some little ego boost so they continue doing the service. But I don't consider that as being so helpful. So there is a way how to encourage people without feeling their egos.
So
I think that's a pretty important thing to learn, to be mindful of this, that we don't just boost people's egos so people continue doing the service on that ego motivation.
But can you explain how?
I actually wrote a whole book about it. My third book, The False Ego, Our Constant Companion and Troublemaker.
But is it published already?
Yeah, I've got some copies in my room.
Wow. Oh, I'm really interested.
There's one chapter on this topic.
What's the cost?
The cost of
Of
the
the
book,
book?
12 euros.
Oh, fantastic.
Some of the devotees have it already.
You have some copies to sell?
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it. I will buy it. But I will not buy it for 12 euros. I will buy it for more. Because it's a very, very nice price. I mean, it's too little, I think. So, okay. So I will read this chapter. Okay, so you're happy. I mean, you can photocopy from my book this chapter. We learn what Mother Devaki says about this.
No, I mean, in essence, it's like this, that the bigger the audience is, who hears the glorification, the more it feeds the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So if 500 people hear, oh, keep joy, and this, so that feeds the ego much more than going privately up to a person and expressing the appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And as you already indicated, in giving positive feedback or negative, we should always mention the other side also, you know. So when we chastise a person, we should actually first start with appreciating the person, and then we can give some correction or chastisement, and then we can finish again with some positive point. And in a similar way, we can also make glorification or appreciation into an actual feedback where we give some positive thing, but then we also can give some, some aspects that need to be improved or something, so that it's a balancing thing, so it's not just some ki-dry thing, but it is more balanced.
Yeah, that's...
And it also, my experiences or observation is it very much depends on the mood of the person offering the appreciation, whether it's just some flattering words. Very often we simply flatter people and we actually don't mean it seriously. And often the person glorifying others actually wants to be glorified themselves. That everybody says, wow, this person says so many nice things about that person, or just look at this person.
To become famous.
Very often, so very often the ways we glorify people is actually not really sincere and humble. It comes with some, with pride also, and wanting to be recognized ourselves. And then we can actually feel, if we're a little perceptive, we can feel some unpleasant energy coming with this glorification. I'm sure we've all had that experience, where people in public say some words, but you can kind of sense it's not seriously and honestly offered, coming from the heart, but just some fanfare there. So that person is in the center. So that should be avoided, because that really is contaminating for everybody involved. But if it is actually offered with humility and sincerity coming from the heart, then it is uplifting and purifying for everybody. So this is kind of the summary of the chapter 12.
So you're happy? Well, Mother Tara also? I mean, this very comprehensive answer from different angles of vision. I would say have a strong reason to praise them. Then, it can be genuine. Have a strong reason.
Yeah, it has to be genuine. And I mean, sometimes it kind of has snuck into our temples. It is almost like some, it's almost becomes like some ritual. So now we have to appreciate the devotees who did this, ki-joy, the drum is going, but it is so empty and hollow and shallow, and there's not really that loving exchange is not there, because it's almost like some organizational appreciation of devotees now, rattling down the names, who cooked the feast and who did this and who did that. And I mean, 35 years ago, people never did these things, but it's kind of sometimes all kinds of things are sneaking in, and we are not more deeply looking at it, what's behind it, and what effect it has, and where it comes from. So I personally don't really find this such a good way to encourage devotees, just giving them that little ego boost. It's like some injection there. And then some people whose name were not mentioned, they get all offended. My name was not mentioned, I was also in the kitchen. And, so I'm sometimes wondering, do we really want to create that mood that we just motivate people on this ego boost, rather than, because Vaishnava quality is actually that a Vaishnava doesn't like to hear his glories chanted. He feels uncomfortable. So that's where we actually want to get, that devotees feel uncomfortable when their name is mentioned and so on. But anyway.
One thing we can learn from Srila Prabhupada, in his letters, he appreciates the service of devotees. So we can see how he is doing it also. There is many places he appreciates the devotees. Sometimes he was crying even that you are helping me so much. But the main thing, it should be genuine, from the right place in the heart. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.